Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I pressed the wrong button. Let's go to, to this one. No, no. Why are you doing that?
Have you labeled the buttons, Scott?
No, I did. I just pressed the wrong button. There you go. There you go. I pressed the one that said combat instead of the one that pressed chat. All right. So really quickly, while we were on break, I brought my dog to go to the bathroom, and I noticed I received priority mail package, and I was like, oh, priority mail package. What was that? It was some roll for charity because I had a bunch of my family members. A bunch of my family members had donated for the roll for charity bit, and so because I was just because they forgot to give me the stuff to give to them, they had to mail it to me. It's like I have some of the stuff that like prizes that were won for like people that had donated for the charity.
Yeah.
It's like this awesome book of like the history of D&D's art and like some really cool dice sets. So
That's super cool.
yeah,
I think the art of D&D is really like underrated. Like I know it says here like cover art is blah blah blah, but like you don't very often look at that, and the art is actually a really important part of D&D. As that's why like character commissions are so important, right?
yeah.
Because like being able to visualize your character is huge.
But
Like more than just visualize, like see it.
absolutely, I'm one of those people that I've always found an image of my character and then built off the image before. Anyways, so it's just cool because my family members had donated and they had won some stuff, so I have to now give it to them. But maybe I'll keep some of it for myself. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's go back. So you guys had this interaction. So he goes now with his kind of like wind stolen from his sails. He goes back to describing some stuff to you and says, "Well, you know how most magic works. Most of it comes from an understanding of gnomish. The gnomes are the big, I suppose, influencers in all things magical. They're the ones that learn to string words together in their own language to literally affect the real world. Even a lot of prayers that are said by the faithful." He kind of tosses a sideways half glance over at one. Are said in gnomish because that's where magic kind of flows through that language. But not all magic works as the gnomes do it. Are you familiar with a small and not so well known race known as the Sill?
We may have encountered some of their doings.
Well, the Sill work magic a little bit differently than the gnomes do, almost in defiance of how the gnomes do magic, working with elements as opposed to it doesn't matter. It's always been understood that the Sill were the ones that created the type of magic they commonly use, powering their devices and their magics with these elemental forces. But there are rumors that perhaps they didn't create these magics. They took these knowledges from the past and were able to make them more prevalent today. And that these magics may have come from a long ago existing race that was here in Idir. Now, the history of this race I'm not super keen on quite just yet. I haven't been able to quite delve into the books that have the full history of the Mull. And part of that reason, Mull is what they're called. Do you know what the Mull are? Oh, you probably don't know what the Mull are, he says, and he starts like going to explain, and then notices the look on everyone's face. And he's like, well, part of the reason why I'm struggling is I am a linguist. It's what I do. I'm a studier of all magics and cultures and so on. But it's magics and cultures and peoples and accents and ways of life as they exist today. Unfortunately, dead languages are something I'm not very familiar with. So while I can easily, and he slips into a language that none of you guys know, and you can imagine what he's saying from there, and then he slips over into like Daelish and says, or continue it this way, with people that would like to talk over, and he switches into Tasian, which I believe at least one of you speaks Tasian, and he continues saying, a delicious roast properly prepared by, and switch back into Gnomish, the greatest of mages that have ever existed, and then switches back into the Perrin, which is what everybody's speaking, right? He's like, Mull being a dead language, I've never been able to quite wrap my tongue around. Because how do you know how it's pronounced? For instance, you go with a simple word like tiefling. Some people would dare to say that it's pronounced tiefling because it's based off of a language that doesn't really exist anymore, or at least not one that anybody really cares about. So which way is actually pronounced the correct way? Is it tie or is it T?
I suppose there's a chance that my pronunciation of the language could be wrong. However, I was taught it from as close to the source as you get it.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm talking about mole.
Oh, hobgoblins.
Yes.
I mean, ethnically, they're very similar to what the mole were. Sure, but not culturally. It's not the same thing. If you take a Perrin out of Perindel, and you raise them amongst the halflings of the deep forests to the north, never having known anything about Perindel culture, and then you ask them how to pronounce Perrin words, just because they're ethnically Perrin doesn't necessarily mean they understands the culture behind the pronunciation and the meanings and so on. That, unfortunately, your argument is not really an argument, but kind of just a blunt statement of ignorance.
Yes, of course.
But
now,
you believe you understand Mole?
I do.
Oh.
My teacher was a hobgoblin knight. The knight is a bloodline. It has been passed down since the time of the ancient Mole. From Idir. He's the closest that we will get. Nevertheless, perhaps we should eat before we continue this discussion.
Oh, I've had his roast.
You don't like it?
I don't think the word "eat" is the appropriate verb to use in this scenario. I suppose we could say chew. We can chew what it is that he makes for us.
I see. I think it might be a good idea for you to chew on that while we figure out the rest of the plans then. You were going to drink that wine after all. You wouldn't want to offend one here, would you?
No problem making offense over something like that. Besides, I think you finished the glass for me.
There's still the bottle.
And he says, and still it will remain.
A little chuckle at that.
So you were sent here to study the mole?
I was sent here to study specific ruins and what might be within.
In effect, the mole. However, there have appeared to be other influences.
The mole are a... Yes, to study the mole on periphery, yes. But not specifically the mole. You see, there's another step to this. There's another layer to this. I don't understand. I don't know where your understandings begin and where they end of how it is that the greater cosmos work. You understand how to weave a couple of words together to make sparks fly, and that's wonderful. And I'm sure it was incredibly useful in defending the wall against the impending danger coming from your east. But there's a difference between being able to make magic happen and understanding the forces behind it.
Yes, I doubt that many people can truly say they understand the forces behind it. I doubt you can either.
I can say I'm a good several strides ahead most.
That be it as may. Your arrogance no doubt shows the fact that you have a lot to learn.
It's not arrogance, it's confidence. It's only arrogance if you can't back it up.
Well, I see. Do you have anything else useful to say?
I mean, I don't know if I'd want to share it with somebody who's being so impertinent.
Impertinent? Very well. I apologize. Please, would you share what else you have to say?
We had already discussed the difference between the way that the gnomes, the way that the Sill do their magics. That the Sill perhaps weren't ones that invented the magics, but instead it was the ones that, instead it was the Mull that had done so before, long beforehand. It was rediscovered by the Sill, and they use it today. Yes, that we already understand. And we already know how the Sill use their magics, drawing their power from the inner rather than the outer planes, meaning that they use elemental forces rather than the magics of faith and just the ether in general. Okay, sure. That's pretty easy to understand. But there's pretty simple lines that are drawn here and there on what it is that the Sill can do. Harnessing the power of lightning because of the connection to the elemental plane of air. Harvesting the ability to move the earth itself, because of the power of the plane of earth. And perhaps even a fountain that just never seems to stop trickling water despite the fact that it is a major drought in an area that's landlocked in.
Yes, elemental magic. We understand.
But what about the bridges? See, long ago there was a theory. It's the theory of the para elementum. That there were areas of there were bits of space or planes that existed between the other elemental planes. You see, there are diametric opposites that any fool can string together. For instance, fire is the opposite of
Water.
and air being the opposite of.
Yes, we understand.
But is earth the opposite of water? Or does it sit nearby? And if it sits nearby, what about the edges of one reality and the other? What sits there?
Ultimately, I would say that these elements are simply different forms of power. And what runs in between them is power in some form or another.
Yeah. But put that aside. The Sill don't have the ability to do that. When a Sill has an item, something that's crafted that harnesses these elemental powers, what they do is they craft in the elemental plane of earth and the elemental plane of fire together. They put them together, two separate rituals, with a third ritual that then makes them function together at the same time. There is a theory that long before the Sill came onto the scene, long before they used these magics, that the Mull used similar powers, something that used a combination of the earth and fire, but not because of three separate rituals, two different bindings, and a third to combine them, but a single binding ritual that pulled from a separate plane where the ground itself was always ablaze, where it was molten rock at all points in time.
Okay.
If that can be proven, it would shake the very foundation of what Sill culture is.
And you wish to shake Sill culture?
Yeah, why not? It's a greater understanding of magics for all peoples to benefit from. And if we can prove that these magics existed long before the Sill had them, rather than the Sill claiming to have proprietary rights over them because they were the creators of them, then that opens up whole new markets of different people that might be able to utilize these magics to create their own things, thus affecting the entire continent's commerce. I mean, we're talking long-lasting effects that stretch beyond even what I can imagine, which is, I imagine, much more than you can.
I can imagine some pretty long-lasting effects. I mean, if the Sill don't have proprietary rights on their magic, why should the gnomes?
Oh.
One thing leads to another, and before long, everyone across the world is using their own magic. But of course, you've already thought about this.
I have. Don't you think it'd be wonderful if the Maltese didn't have to constantly pay incredible sums towards the gnomes for the rights to use the magics and be a part of their council, lest they have even more impending laws put over them?
Succinctly, no. Do you think it would be good for the Perrin to get hold of some magic that can set the earth ablaze? on a large scale, something that they could consider the considerable affluence of the parent empire if they were to push that towards magic, not being restrained by the current laws. Some might say that we might end up with another barren land, which, let's be honest, could have been how it ended up that way in the first place.
Could have been. I don't think there's any scientific evidence to prove one way or the other. Certainly no historical evidence that I've come across. But studying of the past isn't exactly my greatest, forte. It's more studying of the present.
I can tell you have many things that are not your forte.
You're being rather aggressive when you don't need to be. You
Yes.
see, your concerns are about the Perrin, but what if the Maltese had the ability to fight back the Perrin in unison with the Tasian and the Dale lands and even Kajinxi, no offense, and they could actually put a quash to what it is that the Perrin can do.
So instead of having a current, in effect, stalemate that we are having, border wars all round, we will have border wars on a greater scale with larger amounts of magic on both sides. Well, isn't that fantastic, Elliot? Do you like death? Apparently you do.
I don't understand how all roads lead to death. Do you have a rough time on the wall?
Have you ever seen a man impaled by a spike of ice?
Wonderful depictions of it, actually, in a couple of the libraries I've visited.
Yes, I've seen it many times. It's horrible. It happens
Looks
a
rather
lot.
terrible. Oh.
Magic is something wonderful and fantastic. Magic that teaches us how to set the earth ablaze, however, is something that should be considered carefully before we distribute it.
So what you're saying is we should quash the idea of understanding the past and the spread of knowledge, and we should keep people ignorant and in the dark because that's better for them?
So, some people may use this magic for gains. They might have a rock that they keep in their fireplace that's forever warm. They don't have to worry about finding firewood ever again. However, others might have a larger, hollower rock that they fire in a catapult into said city and blow up the entire town.
Those already exist. Whether or not they were done with an incantation or a little ingenuity, those already exist. Weapons of war will always be there.
So because it already exists, we should make it easier.
I'm saying because it has existed in the past, this knowledge, it should be cherished for the future and not buried. And it makes me wonder what this curse of Idir you're talking about is. Is this curse something that's supposed to keep these secrets quiet and you're here to perpetuate that curse?
We're here to break the curse.
And what does breaking the curse mean?
Well, there's 7 seeds of the curse, as it were, the sources. We have to plug them up to stop the curse. That is all I will say on it for the moment.
Fine. So we have a couple of ideological differences on this situation.
One of which is born from experience of books, and one of which is born from actual experience of war.
Fear, yes. I understand. I understand where your perspective comes from.
Do you use magic?
No.
I would advise you to be more respectful in your tone, or you will find out what it is like to experience the fear of experiencing magic.
And back to threats we are.
Raren raises a hand to his face, and it begins to glow.
To his face? He's not
To
just
his
gonna. He's not just gonna sit there. He's gonna, of course, like lean back, slide back, whatever it is, to make sure that you're not just putting magic in his face. It says,
One would lean to the side as well.
Just like.
"It's like I've had enough of that and your display of the magics that got you kicked off the wall. But we've come to an agreement. I'm supposed to assist you in to figure out whatever it is that pertains that takes place in the keep that I believed was inside Hodgwen, but I wasn't able to discover. And you're going to then, in return, help me to discover what it is that I am researching. We can discuss what it is that's done with this information after all is said and done. But I'm sure we'll all agree in the end that sharing knowledge is better than keeping it squirreled away in secret to ourselves, because that's what the gnomes have done, and it's done so well for this world.
You sound a lot better when you're speaking in logic and not arrogance. Very well. I'll forgive this for now. But the next time, I will make you understand. Do you understand?
Yep, completely understand. Makes perfect sense. So, hitting the road then?
No, we're staying for dinner.
Oh, I told you, I'm not going to eat that. I'll get my things together.
Very well.
Your things are right here.
Some of my things. Not all of them. Like I said, it would take me about 15-20 minutes to get the rest of my stuff together.
Well, why don't you leave your bits here and come back, bring them all, and we
Am
can
I a
eat
prisoner?
together.
Because this sounds like you're trying to play shackles on me.
You're certainly not trusted.
Oh, says the person that's making threats.
I believe you were the one that initially threatened me.
I think we were just trying to establish who was where and whether or not you could be somebody that is trusted. If you're somebody that abandoned their duties on the wall because you are either a yellow belly or a betrayer of your nation, needs to be known
Raren
by me.
stands up and punches him when he calls him a yellow belly.
It was a potential yellow belly, but you could
He
definitely...
throws himself across the table.
Yeah,
like
you could absolutely
he
do
goes
that.
over.
Yeah, you go. So you do that, absolutely. He can't really do much about it, so I'll look up his stats real quickly. They're right over. Yeah, his AC is 12. You know what I mean? Like, actually, he's a decent dex, so you technically have to make an attack roll because he actually doesn't have a non-existent dex.
What's an unarmed attack roll?
Just a melee attack.
Is that dex or strength?
It is. Do you have weapon finesse?
I have weapon finesse.
Then dex. So you can press the ranged button if you want.
Oh, I just clicked dex, didn't I?
Yeah,
Ranged weapon.
Because it would also add your BAB to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Where's?
Actually,
where
let me just check something. Let me look at your character
Oh,
sheet.
range there. Total 4. I see.
Yeah, I just wonder if melee should. Yeah, no, man, that's fine. Go ahead.
I see.
Okay, there you go. So you throw the fist at him and you kind of like throw yourself at him.
Once he punches him, he's on top and he's like that and he says, "My friends died to get me here. They died. You don't understand what that's like."
He responds saying, "That's an assumption."
When this all happened to one with a big smile on his face just yells out to Valorant, "It's good old-fashioned bar fight." He flips the table. He's like, "Punch that guy!"
It's funny because there's only one other person in the bar.
Oh, it's Valorant.
No, he's staring at his mug.
Valorant's like,
Please tell me Valorant punches him.
I imagine Valorant does not punch him. Valorant just kind of like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go over here then." Oh. So
And then
anyways,
seeing that they're talking like with Raymond on top of him, one's kind of let down a bit, and he's like, "Yeah," and he just walks off.
goes pours himself another drink. Is it an assumption? Prove me wrong.
prove you wrong in which way?
Well, what is it? When did you witness your friends dying? When did they die for you, to save your life? When did you live with that guilt?
So I'm going to continue to orate stories for you to just assume that I'm saying them through cockiness and disrespect, just so you can ignore the stories, make your own accusations and assumptions of how the future will be affected by the past, and then come round to you turning to violence, because I don't imagine you have much of an ability to act beyond that.
Raren's gonna punch him again.
And so he takes them. Oh,
Tell me,
exactly.
when have you experienced it?
Against better judgment, I will not give you the satisfaction.
Rarin gets up, spits on him, and walks over to the bar.
That was rather disgusting. He gets up, rubbing his face for a couple of moments, leaning against the table, grabs up his bag, and walks out of the building.
Do you think he'll come back, one?
I don't know. He seems quite focused on knowledge, although you did punch him like 2 or 3 times.
Yes, sorry, I lost my cool a little bit.
It just sucks that Valorant such a little bitch.
Varen pretends like he didn't hear you say that as he takes like a sip of his drink, like
Rarin sort of
bit of fleck of
like
dust over there.
he gives like a half chuckle. I've lost my cool, and unfortunately, I fear I may have damaged our cause. I probably ought to apologize.
You could try, but I mean, if I was that guy, I don't know if I'd want to see you right now. I can go look for him if you want.
As he said, he's not a prisoner. However, it's rather hypocritical if he's threatening to turn me in. I mean, I wouldn't be a prisoner for long. They'd probably hang me, but still.
Yeah, he needs a lesson in humility.
Indeed. Well,
So do you want me to go look?
it's up to you, one. I have made more than enough bad decisions for today.
Save me some of that roast. He gets up and
If it's as
walks out.
chewy as he says, I won't have a choice.
So yeah, one walks out and sees if he can find him.
Sure, this is a simple gather information check to ask like where he walked off to or whatever. It's a diplomacy for most people.
Could I just track him?
Yeah, you can kind of like, because it's not like there's a lot of people in the town. You can kind of like bend down, look at the footprints and where they walked off to, next to the pile of vomit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's walked the vomit away so you can follow the trail of terrain. You're like,
Oh, it tickled that one. I was like, ha ha! Oh.
that's nasty.
That's a really, 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 really good check. So you easily find the tracks, and you're able to follow the tracks. You see that they're head over towards like the farmlands. That first of all, they leave the town, but they head directly towards the farmhouse. You start heading towards the farmhouse yourself. Obviously, you're trying to follow tracks, so you can't. The first little bit, you move a little bit slower as you're trying to make sure you follow the path. You don't lose sight of where it is. But then eventually, you're like, it's clear, it's pretty obvious he went to that farmhouse there, and you start more or less picking up your pace and jogging over to get to the farmhouse, or walking more briskly to get to the farmhouse, so that you don't allow too much time to pass. When you finally do get to the house itself, you actually stop to check the track again. And you see that they didn't go towards the actual house, but towards the barn behind it. Heading over to the barn, and literally as you're walking up towards the barn door, like towards the opening, you hear 2 clops of hooves, and what? He says as he, sitting atop the horse in front of you, is about to ride out of the barn.
One just looks at him and says, paid a price for information. I do intend to honor our bargain. Don't mind, my friend. You must understand you insulted him.
Insults were thrown 2 ways, but fists only one. Some people are ignorant buffoons that require violence because they lack the mental capacity to have conversation or discourse. Unfortunately for him, I do not like to be known as somebody who associates with buffoons. Perhaps the occasional payment to a guide, but beyond that, I'd rather discourse.
One just looks at him and he's like, yeah, you talk a lot. And then he's just like, look, will you travel with us for a day? I'll try and fill you in on as much as I can on this, on our part of the bargain. And if you still wish to leave, that is, you're right, you're not a prisoner. But you do look like someone worth knowing.
You can tell he's understands that you're doing the best you can to try to, use honey after he's already been covered in vinegar. So he's been served vinegar, right? And he says, you seem like not a bad person, though, kind of like with his eyes gesturing towards the mark in his face. Some of your judgments are a little questionable. But
we all must pay a price for knowledge.
But I spent an hour with the two of you, or sorry, with the three of you, and have been hit thrice as many times. 24 hours, I imagine, I will not survive.
He just says, I think Rayron worked out his frustration. As good as you are with words, you don't seem to realize the effect that they have on people.
I'm accustomed to dealing with more cultured people that can withstand a sting or two, and don't overreact like a child throwing a tantrum. Nonetheless, perhaps we will reunite sometime in Hod Gwen. Perhaps we can work together then. But I don't think that traveling on the road with someone who's likely to stab me, as the bandits on the other side of it, is a good idea. At least not for my living longer than a week's time.
Dumbass, I'd have killed you if I wanted to.
One kind of looks at him and he says, "Are you sure I can't change your mind? I'll watch it. I'll watch out for you. Rayron won't lash out again. But it is your choice. I do have information to give you, and you have paid my price. But it is your decision."
He contemplates a full minute of silence, trying to determine, because obviously you have knowledge that is very important to him, because technically speaking what you're offering is the understanding of a language that is both living and dead. And so it's kind of this funny line between the bridge of like where his focus is and where his biggest flaw might be. And so he thinks for a few minutes time and he says, I am as sure as I am that he would dishonor the coat of arms that his family possesses with the actions that he takes, that some time of separation between myself and him is the best way to spend my time.
One nods and he says, "If we meet again, I'll make good on my deal." And he offers him his hand.
Little concerned,
like,
little concerned about the how previous handshakes have gone. He's tentative at first, but he will reach down, which requires, of course, bending. Does a reach down to shake your hand.
Okay, and as I shake his hand, I slap the horse.
Pull him off the horse. I'm like, you're mine now! Chain him up with manacles.
And I just yell farewell out as he rides off.
Yeah, like a big hard slap to the horse, and you're a lot stronger than you were a couple days ago. And into the horse goes running off. To which I believe he's actually a competent rider. He is a competent rider, yeah. So he can in fact ride the horse. And so he goes riding off on the horse. And you make your way to the rest of the party.
Yeah.
We're gonna run into him again in Haldgren, and he's like, "Oh, hey there!" And Raren just goes, "I like it."
Okay. So you go back to the party to rejoin with them. Food's gonna be done.
Yep.
You by the time you get back, they had served food, and you see, it was cooked faster than you would have expected. It was like, oh, that was done quicker than I had hoped. This is wonderful. Like, I was hungry, and I expected a proper roast to take hours. He actually must have gotten back quick, maybe came through a back door or whatever it was. This is wonderful. No, he had turned up the oven, like he had gotten it too hot, thrown the hunk of meat in there without correctly manicuring the fat so that they, spider their way through the food to give it flavor, and just roasted it till it was char. So you're eating overcooked shoe leather, crispy on the outside and rubber on the end.
One's probably even worse.
He's probably cooked worse.
No, he just started eating.
Nope. And luckily for you, you get those big teeth and an awesome high strength score to chew through your chimp-like teeth. Whereas the parrot and the human are just like small bite after the mistake of the first one, where their jaw literally hurts trying to eat the first bite. It's small pieces after that, like you're feeding a child. You know. I'm just savoring it, just suckling on the meat. I think there's flavor in here somewhere. The worst part was it's not even beef. It's like overcooked and like crispy and whatnot. What is it? Horse meat. So it's not even like it's good.
My God, he's killing horses? Jeez.
You imagine it was an old horse.
Oh, thank God.
Gamey.
Any luck?
I managed to find him before he rode out on a horse, but he's gone.
I see.
Nothing I could say would make him stay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, it would have been fun if he kind of tried to hit you back, and that would have been a good little, thing. But
Yes, I thought I might elicit some other reaction other than arrogance from him.
he's quite a frustrating fellow.
Indeed, I could deal with him insulting me, but insulting my friends was not appropriate.
You reacted the right way.
They're not here to defend themselves. Seems only right that I do it for them.
Yeah.
The two of you, the three of you, suffer through this meal, or at least two of you suffer through the meal, and the third
We
one
love it.
enjoys
It's great. It's meat. I've not had meat in so long.
Yeah.
The only other meat I've had is jerky. This is softer than that.
So you've had jerked meat recently, but beyond that, it's just about a bunch of...
I mean, I travel with Valren. He's a caster. He's got soft hands.
Moving on.
Tash is gonna love watching this episode.
Poor Tash. And he will watch it too. He's good like that. So you guys eventually come to the conclusion that you're going to spend the night, or you're just going to get right back on the road?
I want to spend the night.
I see no reason not to spend the night in an actual bed.
Okay. And so you guys spend the night. My apologies, to find a bed to stay in, because there is no inn here. You have to.
I thought we were at the inn.
You're at the tavern.
Ah.
Yeah, there's no inn in this establishment, so you have to find somebody who's willing to give you a place to rest your head. So doing
Can
so.
can I just sleep at the inn?
Do you ask the innkeeper that?
No, I'd
Yeah,
probably
you
just
I'd say no.
just lay down on the bar.
On the actual bar's top itself?
Yeah.
He would be like, he'd be like, as you're like putting your stuff down and starting to climb up, he'd be like, what are you doing?
I just toss him that other silver that I got from the fake wine and be like, I'm just like, we're going to sleep.
On my bar?
I made you more money today than you probably made all week.
Roll a diplomacy check for me. I imagine you're going to do it in a very unique way.
Rayrin would come up and place a gold on the bar as well. I think all of us might benefit from a rest in your lovely establishment.
All right then, but I can't lock the doors. People that want their drink have to be able to come in still.
All night?
Well, I'm not going to be here all night myself, but,
Why don't we lock the doors just for tonight? We've already paid more than your profits for overnight. And if we purchase any drink, we will pay the standard fare. That sounds fair enough to me.
Shakes your hand. And then you guys would spend the night, next morning, get up, get ready, and leave, I imagine?
Yep.
Perfect. And you hit the roads. Obviously, waiting for a barge is going to take a considerable amount of time, and so the next best thing for you to do is to start heading on the road. So doing so is it shift that I press, I believe?
I don't know, Scott. What do you press?
I'm trying to remember what it, or is it Z? What do you press to bend your hex count? Do you remember?
Bend it?
Yeah, because you can bend it as it goes. Is it Alt?
I don't know.
Is it Tab? No, it's a button. So you can bend it. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, spacebar, spacebar. That's right. So I go like this, and I go spacebar. No. Oh, no! We've updated hotkeys. Place a ruler waypoints by pressing Q. There we go. There you go.
There we go.
All right.
I've never had as much fun as now.
There you go. So it's 3 hexes away. 3 hexes being 48 miles, and you guys can travel about 32 miles a day on actual roads. And this is the first actual road you guys have traveled on since before the campaign started, really. So you guys are actually able to travel a day and a half, unless you're really hardcore pushing yourselves. You can get all the way down to Hod Gwen in a day and a half's time. So I imagine you don't push yourselves that hard.
Yeah, we're going at maximum speed to hunt down the boy on it, or no?
So you guys start traveling that whole way. So you travel about 2 hexes space in about a day's time. The second day comes up. So again, if you're missing any strength points, heal another strength, heal another 2 health points if you're missing them because you leveled up.
Oh yeah, I'll heal all that health point I'm missing from my huge 13 max.
Yep, and you're welcome. And the next day, as you guys are traveling around, do me a favor. Roll me a survival check. You can all roll it. I'll even roll for Valorant. Good old Valley boy. That was a hiccup.
Yep, that figures.
Another hiccup.
Excuse you, Mathis.
For hiccups? I'm not belching.
What's the difference?
One's involuntary.
Is it though?
Involuntarily.
He stopped! See?
I'm trying really hard. Breathe slowly.
You're just like Elliot.
So, try not to hiccup. So, as you guys are traveling along, one of the things that you notice, is that there was a bit of a scuffle that had transpired on the road.
Rip Elliot.
Elliot's dead.
There was a scuffle on the road with a little splatter of blood and hoof prints going off of the road.
Oh, let's go save his bitch ass. Come on.
Trying to follow him.
You guys try to follow?
It's probably him, right? We ought to.
Can I check out this? I don't know if you want me to do a perception of the scene or something, or if that survival check just covers it.
What extra information are you trying to acquire?
Oh, there's like nobody is dead around or anything.
Like a broken arrow bolt or like claw marks, that sort of thing. Like
you can do another survival check or a perception check to kind of take in the area. That's fine. Okay, each of you can do it.
I'll give assistance to the king of survival down there. The king of survival.
The king.
Okay, so looking about, trying to find out what you can, looking for what had transpired here, you can clearly tell that there was a scuffle where there were a bunch of boot prints that had been here. The horse had come to a stop. The horse at some point in time did rear. You can tell by like the 2 hooves in the back kind of like jumping and skipping
much
backwards.
More imprinted.
Exactly, much deeper down within the heavy 1 imprint in the front. And then you can see that there's a little splatter of blood. Somebody had been injured. And then the horse was led off of the trail down to a different direction. But most importantly, you discover that this probably happened within the last 2 hours or so. So either they're going to be nearby, or they've traveled a considerable distance, and they're, it's gonna take a little time to get there.
How much blood are we talking?
There was definitely a splatter of blood, but it was only 1 splatter that you noticed in the area. A decent size.
Likely from knocking unconscious, because flesh wounds bleed profusely.
Especially head, yeah.
Exactly.
But then there's also the trail is very easy to follow from there because you actually picked up the pattern by which the blood dripped from there.
Cool.
Okay. We should probably go save Elliot. I'm assuming this is him. He did ride off on horseback.
I would presume so. You know, it occurs to me now. His name sounds an awful lot like idiot. I'm gonna drop my backpack here then.
I just have to say that joke was unfunny. Okay. So you drop your backpack here, probably right off of the side of the road, down underneath some brush or whatever.
Tucked away slightly. Yeah. Oh, I'm sitting at light load.
Nice. And so you guys start making your way into the area. I imagine Valorant also, gets rid of some stuff or whatever. And you guys start walking in that way. Now, here's the big question. Do you go quickly, trying to catch up rapidly, or do you move slowly and try to sneak up on them? Do you all go together, or does somebody scout ahead?
I would say one is he's trying to be quiet, but he's not just like moving heaps slowly, and he'd be looking back at like Rayron and Valorant and just making sure they were coming.
I think perhaps Rayron would suggest this to one. It might be worth trying to go quickly. The chances are that the blood that Elliot is dripping, the horse can smell it and it's making it uncomfortable. It's probably not a horse that was trained for anything of the sort, hence it rearing. There's a good chance that it is unsettled, tossing its head, whinnying, neighing as it is being led away. Generally being an unsettled horse, therefore it lowers the chance of him being able to move.
One puts his hand up, he goes, quickly, let's go.
And you guys start moving quickly to get there. You don't need to make any more survival checks. That check was really good. And you start making your way through the woods, trying to get there as quickly as possible. Roll me perception checks.
Hey! Not rolled under 10. Hooray!
Beat
Cool.
me.
Make me a fortitude save to not die.
I'll do it.
No, I'm just kidding. So,
What do I get if I win that?
it's actually Valorant with his parent ears that at one point in time he goes, one of those, you're right. He says like it's a Rayron. Probably like a solid 20 minutes later.
So he can hear a horse, presumably.
Yeah, he just looked at you about 20 minutes later and said, you're right.
Great. Now he's becoming as vague and obnoxious as Ellie. You can hear a horse?
What? No. So,
Oh my god.
he says, no, what? You're right. I do hear the horse is making a considerable amount of noise. But, I think I hear talking too. And then you guys all listen in, and Rayron, and then one hears it as well.
Can we hit
too far off? Kind of like you heard somebody, too far off.
We should sneak in, see whether we can't get closer and listen to what's said.
Sounds good.
It sounds good in theory. Oh, let's try a stealth roll then. I need some pointers on this one. Just say guidance. Right, let's try it then. No, it's not as abysmal as it could have been. What's the chances of his passive perception being higher than that? Given the fact that there's a horse neighing, whinnying.
I'm with you.
Val looks at you guys sneaking off and kind of like goes to raise a finger of like, maybe we shouldn't, but doesn't end up saying anything, and tries to sneak with you guys as well.
Oh, this is great.
Which is why he was trying to say I shouldn't come along with you. And you guys start trying to sneak up towards the thing. Now, Ray, unfortunately, one is probably the one that's leading in the stealth, right? Oh, no, who's the sneaky boy?
I mean, I'm probably the best at stealth because of my natural dexterity.
Okay, so you're probably it's probably actually this exact walking order that you see right here. This exact walking order that you see right here. So you guys start moving forward, and Rayrin first, and then one, and what it is like as you're moving forward, trying to stick to the brush and between the trees and whenever they're in the area. It's not, there's a lot of trees over here, as you can see on the map, or when you saw the map before. That this area is actually mostly open plain, so you can travel much quicker here. But there's still trees dotted about, and obviously they went behind some trees to keep themselves hidden. When you guys go walking up, you can actually see into the area. You see that the horse is in fact tied to, like, tethered around a smaller tree, and is looking uncomfortable and moving about here and there. You can see that knocked unconscious atop of the horse is still what's his face there? Elliot is knocked unconscious atop of the horse, slumped over it. And you see that there's 3 other people sitting around where there's a campfire at some point in time. They're all wearing similar garb. You know what I mean? Clearly identifying the fact that they are of a similar group, or the same group. My apologies. But they're kind of like laughing and talking amongst each other and paying no mind to the fact that he's completely knocked out over there. And at one point in time, somebody says something to another one, and they clink a mug and take a swig together. But literally, as you're kind of like taken in the sight of seeing that, you think you count 5. As you're taken in the sight of seeing this, all of a sudden, one comes up behind you and rustles the bush just because of how big he is nearby, which gets one of the people that are closer towards where you guys are to just like instinctively look in the direction like you would if you hear a rustling bush. But it was rustling enough that you wouldn't think anything of it until literally Valorant's kind of standing over the two of you guys, like, what are we looking at? And then like looks up and makes eye contact with the guy who's making eye contact with him. It's like, and as we roll for initiative,
oh no,
why don't we end the session this week?
Oh, what fun!
Oh, do you guys want to roll for initiative now, or do you want to start at the beginning of next combat?
What do you think, Jake?
I mean, your rolls have been going pretty well overall so far. Maybe you want to ride that luck and.
I don't know. Do you want to roll it now?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Let's steal all of Tesh's luck for next week. All right, let's select my boy. And nice.
Okay, I'm good.
Like I said. All right, let me do Val.
No, Varon has to do it next week, Scott.
Oh, he can't. I can't do it for him because he's not here.
Yeah.
I've rolled everything else for him though.
Don't be an Elliot. Come on.
Okay, fine. I won't do it. But I want to know what it would be if I did do it.
See?
All right. Oh, somebody didn't click their mini first.
Oh, that was me.
It was you.
Always that one guy.
Always that one guy. All right, so I'll add you onto the initiative order and delete Valorant. All right, add turn.
I hope Tesh enjoys watching this session.
I hope so too. I imagine he's like, if I were there, we probably wouldn't have argued and fought with that guy. We probably would have gotten along significantly better.
Probably.
And we gotta have Tesh roll for his new health points too.
How exciting!
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't roll a 1.
Well, he doesn't care so much if he rolls a 1, right? Because he's a caster boy. He doesn't have to get up close to melee combat and all that fun stuff. So, anyways, anything else you guys want to go over? Anything you want to know before we
Can I buy health points?
I mean, there are certain favors.
Oh no.
All right.
Trump card. Give me more hit points, please.
Is that how it works? Donate to your health pool. Do we have like a daddy point tier to like add health points to characters? It's like cost as much as 2 trump cards. It's like I can make their life miserable twice, or give them 1d4 extra health points. Steve would be nice enough to do that for somebody once. He'd be nice, and then drop 3 trump cards on you afterwards.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Anyways, I think that pretty much covers everything for the session. You guys are sneaking amongst these peoples with their captive, and let's see what happens next week. I guess thank you all for coming by. Thank you all for hanging out. That went interestingly, I have to say. I can't wait until Unfunny One watches this session.
Yeah, right.
I will. I'll catch you all later. I will be not really streaming much the next couple of days because I will be flying to California and out there with a few peoples, and then live on the one of the D&D stages. So that'll be cool.
Are you gonna post it in the Discord in proper announcements?
Yeah, I should be able to because things will be running more smoothly for this upcoming event than they were for the last event. So it shouldn't be an issue. All right, thank you all again so much for coming by. We will see you later. Bye.
Bye.